Let's start with Elon Musk. Max, you are not just a former member of Congress. You served in our military. What is your take on the New York Times reporting that he was briefed on this information that could potentially be how America would handle a potential war with China? And I will say, he knows a lot of business about China. He's dealt with Xi, more than most people, but this is a different category.
Well, it's actually quite dangerous because he still has an extraordinary amount of business in China.
Sure does.
And there's plenty of questions about where his allegiance really lies here. But I think everyone has to understand that when Elon Musk walks into any government agency, he is the boss. He's treated like the boss. He's feted like the boss, and he has provided any information that the boss would get. This guy is running the show. And that's why, it's difficult at this stage to have, friction in this administration because basically it's filled with sycophants. But the people that there's any friction with right now is with Elon Musk because he's literally going into different departments and firing people. And it's actually causing disruption in programs like, for instance, PEPFAR, that Donald Trump has said he actually wants to support. This guy is not just the only thing worse than a vigilante is a vigilante that everyone wants to suck up to because they want his money. And that's what's happening here. He is writing checks as we speak on the hard side and the soft side to just continue to buy off members of Congress, to buy off the president, all while he's padding his pocket with Starlink, SpaceX, and he's trying to save Tesla, although we'll see if that's even possible.
I mean, we don't have to imagine what the combination of the secrets of the American government, the power of the American government, and the richest man in the world could be. Elon Musk told us, he wrote on X recently that he had the ability to turn off Ukraine's defenses, basically saying, if you don't come to the table, if you don't do what Donald Trump wants, we're going to get your soldiers killed, right? So just taking that in and of itself, a very small thing, you can look at it and say, here's the problem. Here's the conflict, right? Look at China. He does have business interests. Donald Trump said today Elon has business interests in China. So, he's going to stay away from the China stuff. There's reporting from the New York Times that they were planning to talk about China. They were planning for this operational, what is the plan to fight China? And then everyone backed off of that and said the reporting wasn't true. When I say that, the reporters didn't back away from it. The New York Times and several of their best reporters reported it. And it seems more likely to me that the plans changed once it was reported rather than that they were never going to talk to him about it.
Can we go back to something that Max was talking about, all that Elon Musk is donating to? Beyond the power that he has, he is donating to all sorts of lawmakers who are pushing to have the judges that are ruling against Trump's agenda to be impeached. He is the biggest spender in the Wisconsin Supreme Court election happening right now. What is your take on this?
It's so transparent. He has America PAC. He has $300 billion. He gives $1 billion to these people and pays them off. It's all about money and power. And it's also infuriating. It's like you get married and your husband says, you know what, my mother's going to be living with us and going to be running the household. I forgot to tell you. I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't understand why people are not, like I was talking to Max before. I'm like, it's driving me crazy. I see his face. Why does he have so much power? Why is he in the Pentagon? Why is he talking about China? Why? No one voted for him.
Okay, but let's talk about what he's actually doing, John, because these DOGE cuts are massive, right? If you want to say that making big cuts at NOAA or at the FAA, it's unwise, it's potentially dangerous, it's irresponsible, put that over here. But making cuts to Social Security that could impact senior citizens not getting the checks that they deserve. These senior citizens aren't asking for handouts. Right. This is money that a system they have paid into for years and years and years, and the government has said, we owe you. You've got Elon Musk actively saying it's a Ponzi scheme and potentially look to really disrupt this thing. What's your take?
Well, I think it's even deeper than Mr. Musk. Well, you had the Secretary of Commerce earlier today who suggested that if his mother-in-law missed a payment on Social Security,
I think I have that soundbite. I'm going to play it.
Yeah.
Let's play that soundbite.
Let's say Social Security didn't send out their checks this month. My mother-in-law, who's 94, she wouldn't call and complain. She just wouldn't. She'd think something got messed up, and she'll get it next month.
Yeah.
A fraudster always makes the loudest noise, screaming, yelling, and complaining. And if all the guys who did PayPal, like Elon knows this by heart, right? Anybody who's been in the payment system and the process system knows the easiest way to find the fraudster is to stop payments and listen.
Yeah.
Because whoever screams is the one stealing.
Brother John, his mother-in-law wouldn't need to call the Social Security office. She could call her son-in-law. He's worth $2 billion.
So here's the problem. I think
Everything there is the problem.
So I think he means well.
Sure.
And he's gone into public service. So I commend him for that. But he's got a blind spot, and it's called the working person. You just can't appreciate that when you've not gone through, you've been on a bus stop, or you've not been in a public restroom or a public airport in 20 or 30 years. And of course, his mother-in-law is going to go to him if she has a problem. 73% of my clients at Operation Hope are living from paycheck to paycheck. 70% of Americans are living from paycheck to paycheck. Most folks have too much month at the end of their money in this country. And you're right.
They have too much month at the end of their money. That's something.
And if you've paid into Social Security your whole life, this country has made a promise to you and owes you a debt. You've done nothing wrong. And the average person who misses a payment is not going to say, I think I'll wait till next month. They're rightly so wondering why the government has not kept their promise. The government made a promise and should keep it. And if the Secretary of Commerce went to one of his clients in his business who didn't make a bond payment on time or a commercial payment on time, he wouldn't say, we'll catch you next quarter. He'd say, you had a contract and I expect you to keep it. On the one hand, we have the rule of law. On the other hand, we've got common sense. Most of these people in this country literally cannot afford to wait till next month. So they're not whining, they're not complaining, and they're not fraudsters. They work their whole life, and all they want is to retire with some dignity. And his inability to see all of that is not his fault. It's his environment. And when you have an administration who is 99% uber wealthy, and I'm wealthy, but uber wealthy, you can't help but have a blind spot for the 90% of people.
I'm sorry, John. You can help but have a blind spot. You're wealthy and you don't have a blind spot.
But I spend one day a month going to the hood, or the hood adjacent, or rural white America.
And if you choose to be part of a presidential administration, it is your damn responsibility to understand the plight of the American people. That's why you chose that job. If you didn't want to do that, you could have stayed right here and hung out at Casa Cipriani all day, but you didn't.
But Stephanie, I think what John is saying, or I think what's important here is you're talking about how many Americans do live month to month, right? And what a huge proportion of that is. And a big part of that is Donald Trump's base. And Elon Musk will mess with Social Security at Donald Trump's peril, at the peril of the Republican Party. There is no program that has had more public support in this country over any period of time, including the last, what are we at now, 75, 80 years of Social Security. You can't tamper with Social Security.
But the problem is, John, it is broken. It's not a Ponzi scheme, but it is broken and it's running out of money. So there is a conundrum that someone does. It's why so many young people don't support it, because they're saying, I'm never going to get that money. Your sons aren't saying, I can't wait to pay into it. They don't think they're never going to get it.
There are solutions to that problem that do not start with, we're going to shut down the field offices. We're going to shut down the phones. We're going to shut down the whole damn agency, as the Social Security administrator, acting administrator said today. There are any number of things you could do. You could get more revenue by lifting the cap. Basically, wealthy people, when they get to a certain point of the year, they stop paying their 7%, right? So you could lift the cap. You could, gradually move up the age of retirement. There are a ton of things that you could do. But in order to tinker with Social Security, in order to tweak it, it's got to be bipartisan. There is no way to do that unilaterally. And if anybody does it unilaterally, they will find out at the ballot box that they made a big mistake.
Sweet Max, take us to the ballot box, because I'm remembering it was just about a year ago. Nikki Haley brought up the idea of raising the retirement age when she was running, and she got destroyed for it. You know, Republican base said, get out of town. There's no way we're no way we're voting somebody who wants to raise the age of receiving senior Social Security benefits. Yet here we are saying, you know what? We're going to get rid of the field offices. There might not be anybody for you to call, for a vulnerable senior citizen to call if they're having a problem with their payment. You think that's going to be okay with Staten Island voters?
It's not going to be okay with any voters. I mean, look, their math doesn't work. Okay, what they're doing.
Well, it'll be okay with Howard Lutnick's mother-in-law. She votes.
First of all, that interview was extraordinarily arrogant, and that's a political liability walking. And I'm not sure how much longer he'll be in that role if he keeps on acting that way, because no one could command DJT, as he called him. He's the president of the United States, his permanent loyalties. But they're playing this very weird math here. Okay, what they're saying is we are going to protect Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, and basically anything else that people purport to like about government. On the same hand, though, they're going to cut all taxes for tips, cut taxes on Social Security, cut the income tax for anyone who makes up to $150,000 a year, all by tariffs and eliminating, quote unquote, waste, fraud, and abuse. The math actually doesn't add up, but I'll tell you what does add up. What they're doing right now, which is firing veterans. 50% of the federal workforce are veterans. 50% of those veterans are disabled veterans. Donald Trump liked to kiss their behind during the campaign, saying, thank you for your service, you know, while he hugs a flag. And then he turned around and said, you're fired. That's the only thing that they've actually done, and it shows where their values actually are.